Coming up on News 11, Chautauqua County's Toys for Tots holiday fundraiser made its return last weekend. President Biden announces his first national security plan and is aimed towards China. And it may only be October, but new superstar holiday movies are already being announced. These stories and more, News 11 starts right now. Good evening and welcome to News 11. I'm Topher Elkins.
And I'm Chloe Kowalik.
Well, Chloe, we are back after our week off last week, and we have a lot of stories that come in, so we're going to jump right into it. All right, SUNY Fredonia's renovated and redesigned Houghton Hall will be dedicated on Friday, October 14th, tomorrow, completing the transformation of the STEM education at the university. The tour will start in the first floor lobby at 1 p.m. and will be led by Houghton Project Shepherd and Associate Professor of Physics, Erica Simoson. The dedication ceremony will begin at 2 p.m. and feature remarks by President Stephen Collison and Andy Carafa, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. In addition to the formal ribbon-cutting ceremony at 2:30 p.m., individual ribbon-cutting ceremonies will be held at 3 p.m. for the 13 named spaces. Houghton Hall brings geology and environmental sciences, physics, computer and information sciences, and mathematical sciences together under one roof and connects with the Science Center, home to biology, biochemistry, chemistry, and science education to and from the Fredonia Science Complex. It is equipped with high-tech laboratories with cutting-edge equipment for teaching and research, well-designed conference rooms, and comfortable lounges that encourage students' interdisciplinary collaboration.
The 2022 Toys for Tots campaign for Chautauqua County is underway. A kickoff event was held on Friday at Southern Tier Distillery in the town of Busty. Last year's campaign provided toys for 4,390 children in the county. The Resource Center's Heather Brown, one of the coordinators of this year's campaign, hopes that people will be generous with toys or dollars again this year, adding, quote, "The need this year will be great, and it's more than just the toys. The mission of the Toys for Tots is bringing a toy to a child Christmas morning that may otherwise not be able to receive one," end quote. One of the other coordinators, Patrick Simeldo of Jamestown Public Schools, announced the Toys for Tots Community Service Award is renamed in honor of a fellow teacher, Jason Williams, who passed away earlier this year.
There is a push underway in Chautauqua County to increase pedestrian safety along state roadways, and one local lawmaker is taking the fight to Albany. Chautauqua County legislator Susan Parker is calling on a state assembly committee to adopt changes to roadways in rural areas, specifically to make travel safer for bikers and pedestrians. In Fredonia, there is one particularly problematic roadway that bisects the village. Parker added, quote, "This change is especially important for rural communities where state highways oftentimes are the main streets of our community. In the village of Fredonia, Route 20 actually divides. It is our main street, and it divides half of our village from the other half," end quote. The road was constructed in the early 1900s and needs to be updated, according to Parker. The legislature is now seeking help from the State Assembly Transportation Committee and asking that they implement complete streets in Chautauqua County, as she fears the project will not be looked at for a long time without advocacy on the subject.
Over 16 libraries in Chautauqua County were collectively awarded $1.2 million as part of a public library construction grant. New York State Senator George Borrello says the funding will enable libraries to better meet the needs of their patrons by increasing accessibility and modernizing facilities while reducing operating costs. Locally, the James Pregnerson Library received over $214,000 to replace the entire HVAC system, upgrade its computer system, and install a patio and outdoor walkway for outdoor programs. Furthermore, the Lakewood Library, Ripley Public Library, and Cattaraugus Free Library are among locations in our area who received funding.
Moving on to the west of Western New York, with a new season for the Sabres starting tonight, fans can now expect new specialty foods to pair along with the new season throughout KeyBank. According to Delaware North, fans headed to KeyBank Center this upcoming season can expect new restaurants, including a Rachel's Mediterranean Outpost and the Perry Market will be swapping out menu items every 8 to 10 games, including new menu items such as a porchetta sandwich, a Korean chicken quesadilla, or a Hawaiian beef dog. New food items throughout the general concessions include Baja fish tacos, spicy cheese dogs, mustard pulled pork sandwiches, and artisan deli sandwiches, a walking taco, and Lenovo chicken wings.
Staying with the Buffalo stories, Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center launched its mobile CT scan truck to visit rural communities across Western New York. Nearly 70% of lung cancers detected are in the early stages, and Roswell Park officials say the earlier the cancer is detected, the better. Mary Reed, Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center screening chief officer, said, quote, "Our rates of lung cancer screenings are very low, like 6% of eligible people are getting screened, and as a consequence, most lung cancers are getting diagnosed late. We really want it to be early because you get to live if you get it early. To get an appointment, people must be 50 years or older, smoked for 20 years, and smoked in the last 15 years. To sign up for an appointment, you can visit online at www.roswellpark.org/EDDY.
Congressman Brian Higgins made a return to Western New York to announce that money from Washington is being directed throughout the Niagara Falls School District in an effort to further combat violence throughout the schools. Weapon detectors were installed at every elementary school in the district at the beginning of the academic year. Now, new programs are being considered. There are a number of programs that are being considered, including training for teachers on violence response and violence prevention. In addition to the new technology, the superintendent of Niagara Falls Schools, Mark Laurie, says establishing healthy relationships is crucial for growing healthy minds. That's why the district is partnering with the Minstrel Council and Pastor Craig Pridgeon. Pridgeon says making safe schools will help the community grow stronger too.
Moving on to statewide news, New York State can enforce its concealed gun law as a battle over the legislation works its way through court. A federal appeals court agreed Wednesday to send the state's request to block a temporary restraining order that keeps it from enforcing its Concealed Carry Improvement Act to a 3-judge panel. The measure prohibits carrying guns in some public places. While that process happens, the law remains in effect. It was enacted after the Supreme Court struck down a New York gun law that placed restrictions on concealed carry outside of the home. The 3-judge panel will weigh in on the issue and has paused the restraining order from going into effect until the review is done. Now when we come back, we'll have headlines, including President Biden's new foreign policy. We'll be right back.
When you think of the local lowdown, what do you think of?
Well, when I think of the local lowdown, it's the live music that we have played in the studio.
It's gotta be the laughs we shared. The memorable moments during the whole thing. Oh my God, so fun.
The local lowdown for me is the people behind the scenes, the amazing team that we have making the show.
Oh, it's gotta be exploring all sorts of genres and music I've never heard before.
Oh, easy. Going out to shows and talking to artists and getting the latest news on what they have planned for the future.
It's about these artists, man. Giving them a platform to showcase what they've worked so hard on and show their music to the community. It's all about supporting the local scene of music to keep it running for years to come. And of course, the band merch. You can't forget about the merch.
President Biden has released his first formal national security strategy. In it, he calls out China for its intent to reshape the international order. The document identifies the world's most populous country as, quote, America's most consequential geopolitical challenge, end quote, and it singles out China and Russia while focusing on rebuilding global partnerships. The president notes while Russia poses an immediate threat to the free and open international system, he says China is the only competitor that increasingly has economic, diplomatic, military, and technological power to reshape that system. The strategy allows the president to place into writing the pillars of his foreign policy. It is required by Congress and comes nearly 2 years into his term.
A federal district judge could decide Wednesday whether to temporarily block President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness program from going into effect. The Biden administration aims to deliver debt relief of up to $20,000 to millions of borrowers, with applications for loan forgiveness expected to open up this month. 6 Republican-led states filed a lawsuit last month challenging the legality of the policy and are asking the court to grant a preliminary injunction. If it does, that could put student loan cancellation on hold until the judge issues a final ruling on the case. The losing party could immediately appeal the judge's ruling on the injunction, sending the case to the 8th Circuit Court of the Appeals. The states argued in the court documents that the Biden administration does not have the legal authority to grant student board loan forgiveness. They also argue that the policy would hurt them financially, as well as the revenues of a student loan servicer based in Missouri.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has given emergency use authorization to updated COVID boosters for kids as young as 5 years old. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention must recommend the shots to that age group before they can be administered. Like the boosters that became available for people 12 and older in September, they target the original coronavirus strain and the Omicron BA4 and 5 subvariants. The updated Pfizer booster received FDA authorization Wednesday for use in kids ages 5 to 11. It previously authorized for people 12 and older. Moderna's updated booster was authorized for people ages 6 to 11 and 12 to 17. It previously authorized for people 18 and older only.
ADHD patients could have trouble filling their prescriptions. Bloomberg reports pharmacy chains like CVS and Walgreens are having difficulty keeping Adderall in stock at locations across the country. Adderall is a drug commonly used to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. According to Bloomberg, Walgreens says supply chain challenges are affecting its supply of both instant release and extended release Adderall. But pharmacies have also seen a spike in demand as diagnoses of mental health disorders increased during the pandemic. Bloomberg states several drug manufacturers have had both generic and brand pills on back order over the past month.
You're probably going to be spending more money to heat your home this winter. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is forecasting about a 6% increase in the number of days heating is needed. Nearly half of houses nationwide use natural gas for heat. And according to the Energy Information Administration, natural gas customers can expect an average increased cost of about $200 for the season. About 40% of houses use electric heating, so the electricity bill this winter could rise more than $100. Americans who use propane for heat will see a rise in price of about $80 this winter. Heating a home with oil, which includes less than 5% of homes nationwide, will be the most expensive, which costs forecasts to jump $1,200. If this winter turns out to be colder than expected, the cost of heating could rise even more.
Images Andy Warhol created of Prince are at the heart of a case that the Supreme Court is looking at Wednesday. It's a case of enormous importance to all artists. The Supreme Court will consider Wednesday whether the late Andy Warhol infringed on a photographer's copyright. Photographer Lynn Goldsmith photographed Prince in her studio back in 1981. A few years later, Vanity Fair paid her to license her photo as artistic reference. The magazine hired Warhol to create a rendering of the musician based on the photo, which ultimately ran in the issue of the magazine. Years later, in 2016, it was discovered Warhol made more than a dozen prints from Goldsmith's photo, but Goldsmith was never paid for those. The U.S. Supreme Court has now taken a crack at defining the fair use doctrine of copyright law. Museums, galleries, collectors, and experts have also weighed in, asking the judges to balance copyright law with the First Amendment in a way that will protect artistic freedom. Now, when we come back, News 11 has a new sports anchor, and Julia will return to give you your first weather forecast. We'll be right back.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. Post office. All you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. For selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. For selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service. We've been down there. You gotta do Takes no time, just sign on the line at the post office for selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, selective service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time, just sign on the line at the post office for selective service.
Well, it's not very often that Sarah isn't here on the sports desk for News 11, but she is human, so every once in a while she has to miss. So it's lucky for us here that we're able to steal one of our analysts from Sports Hour to give us a rundown of the sports world. And we're now joined by Ali, who has a lot of sports to cover. But first, we're going to jump into Fredonia sports. Take it away.
In local Fredonia sports news, the men's soccer team picked up their first conference win of the season in a SUNY Act battle with Potsdam. The Devil took the game 3-0, with goals being scored by Jacob Valles, Chance LaCroix, and Caleb Seward. Goalie Will Richardson had a great game, notching 9 saves and earning his second shutout of the year, which also was enough to make him the Fredonia Men's Athlete of the Week. The team plays their next game at SUNY Plattsburgh this Saturday. In Buffalo sports news, the Buffalo Bills had a blowout victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers this past Sunday to improve their record to 4-1. Josh Allen played like the MVP candidate he is, throwing down for 4 touchdowns and career-high 424 yards. Even more impressive, he didn't even play in the fourth quarter. Other impressive Bill players, including Gabe Davis, scoring 2 times on only 3 catches, with one of those touchdowns being a 98-yard catch in the first possession of the game. The rookies showed out for the Bills too, with Khalil Shakir and James Cook scoring their first NFL touchdowns and Kair Elam notching his first interception. The Bills play the 4-1 Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday at 4:25, which has been marked a rematch game after the shootout divisional round of the playoffs last year. And lastly, the Buffalo Sabres take the ice tonight for their first regular season game of the year against the Ottawa Senators. They do so with a new captain named Kyle Okaposo, the 20th captain in the team's history.
Well, Ali, I personally think you did a great job for your first time on News 11, and I'm sure we'll probably see more of you this semester. Moving on to weather, we're joined once again this week by Julia Skiba, who is here to give us tonight and tomorrow's forecast. Take it away.
Thank you, Topher. Well, after a pretty rainy morning and early afternoon, it looks like the rain should be over the rest of the night. Temperatures are going to be a bit on the cooler side, sitting right around the low 50s. If you're out and about tonight, it'll more likely feel cooler out, as well as it'll be breezy for most of the night with winds consistently in the low 20-mile-per-hour range. Looking ahead to tomorrow, if you're trying to fit in some more outside things to do, Friday seems to be the best day this weekend. Clouds should disappear and stay away, as we should see blue skies and sunshine all day. Temperatures might be a little bit on the cooler side, with the high only being 55, so be sure to grab a sweatshirt or light jacket if you're going to be outside. Wind gusts will still definitely be noticeable coming off of Lake Erie, which will also add to the cooler feeling. After the break, I'll be back to give you a look ahead at your weekend and the start of next week. Back to the desk.
All right, thank you so much, Julia. Now when we come back, your international headlines. We'll be right back.
To Sofia and Gabriel, mis flores, my little flowers. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love, so you can take me with you wherever you go, near or far. These stitches and threads join us together. Me, your mother, and both of you. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you as you bring our colorful stories to the world.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
The U.S. is sending a delegation to Haiti to assist with the nation's humanitarian crisis and security crisis. In its response to a request from Haiti's Prime Minister and the UN Secretary General for assistance, the country is facing a cholera outbreak, shortages of food and fuel, widespread protests, and gang violence. The high-level delegation, including Southcom's military deputy commander, senior advisors, and personnel from the White House, Office of the Secretary of Defense, Joint Staff, and Department of State. On Wednesday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. was working to deploy security assistance to the Haitian National Police. The government is also sending a major Coast Guard gutter vessel to patrol the waters around Port-au-Prince.
Top U.S. officials met with Taliban leaders Saturday for the first time since late July. It was the first time the two sides met in person since al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri was killed in Kabul by Hellfire missile strike. The U.S. has previously been accused the Taliban of a violation of the Trump administration's Doha Agreement, in which they agreed to not harbor terrorists. The Biden administration sent the CIA's deputy director and the top State Department official for Afghanistan to the Qatari capital of Doha for the talks. Last month, the White House called cooperation with the Taliban on counterterrorism, quote, a work in progress. Although previous negotiations resulted in the release of U.S. citizen Mark Frericks, this marked the first in-person meeting with both sides since July 31st. U.S. officials hope the ongoing talks will help secure the release of another American filmmaker, Ivor Shearer.
Amazon is planning to invest $972 million in electric vehicles for its European fleet. The company says the investment is part of its goal to produce net zero carbon emissions by 2040. It would increase Amazon's fleet from 3,000 to at least 10,000 electric delivery vans by 2025 and more than 1,500 long-haul electric trucks. The company also plans to deliver more packages via e-cargo bikes and on foot through centrally located delivery hubs, which it's already doing in 20 major European cities, including London, Munich, and Paris. Now, after a quick break, we'll have your trending stories, and Julie has one more look at your weekend weather. We'll be right back.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Ferrell and actor Ryan Reynolds are teaming up to help you get into the Christmas spirit this year. The comedic duo will headline the new Apple TV Plus Christmas movie Spirited. It's an updated take on the classic holiday fable A Christmas Carol, with Reynolds stepping in as Ebenezer Scrooge. Ferrell takes Reynolds through the various settings and time periods before introducing himself as the Ghost of Christmas Present. Spirited will debut in theaters on November 11th. It will stream globally on Apple TV Plus on November 18th.
It's the holiday boozy treat you didn't know you needed. An Eggo-inspired cream liquor, it's a chance for parents to enjoy one of their favorite items during their evening me time. The holiday liquor is a partnership between Kellogg's Eggo-made craft distillery, Sugarland's Distilling Company. The Eggo Nog Appalachian Sipping Cream is a rich rum-based liquor with cinnamon and nutmeg. Eggo Nog will be available in select retailers nationwide throughout the holiday season, and you must be 21 or older to purchase.
And lastly, good news for Taco Bell fans. Nacho fries are back on the menu for a limited time starting October 13th, starting today. The fast food chain is even kicking things up a notch. In addition to the golden fries topped with nacho cheese sauce, Taco Bell has teamed up with the hot sauce brand Truff. The spicy collaboration loaded Truff nacho fries will be available for the next 2 weeks while supplies last. and features nacho fries topped with marinated steak and hot truffs, hot sauce. Want to make sure to be able to get your hands on one? Taco Bell has added a truff tracker on its app so you can easily spice up your order.
I don't know if I'd ever want to try that. I'm not a big Taco Bell guy, but like I've heard a lot of like I've heard good things about the nacho fries from people that do eat them. So
that sounds interesting. I would try it. I would try it.
Interesting is a
Interesting.
It's a
yeah,
good word
right?
to use
it's like,
for
it's
it.
a unique thing.
All right, well, now looking at your weekend. Oh, I'm sorry about that. All right, well, we're going to take it to Julia for our weekend forecast. Julia, what do you got for us?
Thanks, guys. Now, looking at your weekend, it's going to look a lot like Friday, like I mentioned earlier. Let's start off with Saturday, though. For the morning, it'll be a bit chilly out due to some high wind gusts that should die down later in the day. Temperatures are going to be sitting right at 57 degrees with a small chance to peak into 60 degrees around 2 p.m. Those wind gusts are going to be present through with strongest hitting 35 miles per hour. Saturday night shows a small chance at a shower, but it could blow over and never truly even hit us here on Friday. Moving on to Sunday, we're going to be seeing much of the same with the cooler fall weather. Temps dip a little bit to around the mid-50s with consistent winds throughout the day as well. No rain looks to be in the forecast, so as long as you have a layer or two, not a bad weekend to be outside. To start your week on Monday, it's going to feel like it did this morning with the scattered rain showers throughout the morning into early afternoon. Winds pick back up, so a little bit of a washout to start our school week. That does it for me this week. Back to Topher and Chloe at the desk.
All right, thank you so much, Julia. It seems like you're becoming a regular face here around News 11, oh, I can't read. I'm sorry, guys. And on that note, that does it for News 11 this week. Thank you so much to our behind-the-scenes crew.
And of course, thank you to everyone watching at home. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place. Have a great night.